Wednesday, November 8th, 2017, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So we're going to look at the markets this morning. It's just gone past 8 a.m. London. I want to talk about Saudi Arabia, Iran, and what's going on in the Middle East. And also, I want to touch upon this book, The Teacher's Self-Guide to Numismatics. It's from the 1960s, and I'm going to talk about the pound, where the origin of the pound, the currency of the UK. First of all, let's look at the markets. So spot gold, 1278.50, up $3.50. The range has been 1279.50 to 1275. So quite a narrow range overnight. Still have 1282.84 areas as key resistance. Silver has bounced back above 17. It's 1702 right now, up 9 cents. Range has been 1705 to 1692 and 1725. Still big resistance above for silver, 200-day moving average as well. Stock markets. Overnight, the Dow has been down as much as 50 points, but right now it's unchanged at 2352. S&P 2589 down 1. It has been down as much as 8. The Nasdaq is up 5 now at 6324. It was down as much as almost 20 earlier on overnight. The currencies, pound or cable, down 25 pips or 0.2%, 131.40. The euro, 115.60, up 10. And the dollar is down 20 pips against the yen at 113.81. And just a quick thing I was thinking last night, if we are going to have a crisis, a market, big market correction, I think it will be very difficult to get out, especially for the small investor, for example, in the US. I think it will start overnight in Asia in the futures market, and people will come in the morning in the US, and the Dow will be down. I don't know how much, but it will be quite shocking, I think. Am I saying this is going to happen now? I don't know, but it will happen one day because we can't keep going up like this forever. But now to Saudi Arabia. There's been a lot of talk, about the purges going on in Saudi Arabia. There's Prince Mohammed bin Saud, or MBS. He's the son of the current king, King Salman. He took over in 2015 when his brother, King Abdullah, died. But basically, he's in charge, Prince MBS. His dad has given him the reins. And as you probably know, he arrested, even some people were killed, died, members of the royal family, the richest man in Saudi Arabia, the Warren Buffett of Saudi Arabia, a guy who owns a big chunk of Citibank, another big U.S. multinationals. He was arrested. The airspace in Saudi Arabia was closed off. There's a lot of speculation that Trump is involved, that, a lot of things going on. But I think one of the best articles I read about Saudi Arabia was by a geopolitics analyst by the name of Pepe Escobar. He writes for the Asia Times. And I read his article yesterday in Zero Hedge. Says the inside story of the Saudi Knights of the Long Knives. And basically, he's saying that, the Saudi monarchy is not monolithic. There's a lot of factions, and this is an infighting between these factions. And he says that the only reason the Saudi military is still backing MBS, not mortgage-backed security, is Mohammed bin Saud, is Mohammed bin Salman, because his dad is Salman, bin Salman, Mohammed bin Salman. The only reason the army is backing him is because due to respect for his father, the king. So he's saying once the King Salman is gone, watch out. King Salman, I checked on Wikipedia, he's about 81. Still, could keep going for another few years. But what I get from this, it might be something to do with Iran, because Iran, another story says that Iran complained to the UN. Its ambassador to the UN wrote to the Security Council and says Saudi Arabia's baseless, unfounded accusations and considers it as destructive, provocative, and a threat to use of force. So this is also from an article in Zero Hedge saying Iran slams Saudi, U.S. claims it ordered ballistic missile from Yemen, missile attack from Yemen. The U.S. is saying that Iran, told Yemen to fire ballistic missile into Saudi Arabia, and that happened the same day that all this purge was going on in Saudi Arabia. And I've listened also to a video, YouTube video from InfoWars, Alex Jones, and I'll put it up in the cards above. And there's a caller from London and he says that this has been done by design to provoke a big war between Iran, Saudi Arabia, US, and even the UK would be involved. And that would lead to the ouster of President Trump sometime in the next 6 or 9 months. And some people are saying that this is President Trump taking down the people who were involved in 9/11. So they saying that the Saudis were involved. And yes, I remember that the Saudi royal family was allowed to fly out of the U.S. the day after 9/11, even though the U.S. airspace was closed off. There's a lot going on, but one thing that looks to me that makes most sense is the instability and the infighting between the Saudi royal family factions and the different tribes. That could certainly lead to war with Iran. And why? Well, because Mr. Prince MBS could use war as an excuse to crack down even more and to get the army behind him. So interesting times, a little bit of geopolitics there. And so now I want to talk about this book, change the subject, and look at the origin of words. Nowadays we call in the UK, how much is that? It's a pound, and we forget where it comes from. So I'll read here from this book. It says, just as the libra of the ancient Romans was a specified weight, and as a monetary term signified originally a pound in weight of silver, so the Old English pound was also merely a weight, and as a monetary term signified the amount of silver which could be coined into 240 silver pennies. I know later on became copper. There's always debasement and inflation. Government trying to pay off their debts with cheaper money. Does that sound familiar? So 240 pennies to the pound, that was valid until 1971, before decimalization in the UK. And it says here, even talks about the pound, what that's based on, the pound, a weight of a pound. As a standard of weight, the pound was based on the weight of 7,680 grains of wheat taken from the middle ear of the wheat and well dried. So really interesting. And it says the word was afterwards used to denote the sovereign. In 1816, the silver standard was abolished in England. The unit of value was then the pound sterling or sovereign, which is like 0.2354 of an ounce of gold. So they went off silver in 1816, and they went off gold, of course, in 1914 domestically. and 1931 internationally. So it just goes to show you how they changed the words. You know, the pound was a pound of silver. Nowadays, it's what's a pound? It's just a little piece of paper, it's a promise. It's a loan by the banking system, which has no, how can I say, concrete value or any value based on reality. At least then it was based on grains of wheat, a pound of silver. It was silver. It was based on something real. So interesting things, a snippet there about this. So what else? Bond markets, quickly here. The 10-year note yield still 2.31, which is not at a danger level in terms of going up. We need to break 263. That's a key level. The 30-year bond yield, don't forget, the 10-year is called a note, the 30-year is called a bond. So the 30-year bond yield is down 12 basis points in the last month, but the 10-year is only down 5. So what that means is that investors are discounting slower growth, less threat of inflation longer term. So the spread between those two yields is around 46 now. It's broken 50. So that's telling us that the U.S. economy is not doing well. What could help the economy and distract people? Yeah, a war. Am I saying we're going to have war with Iran, Saudi Arabia, the U.S. and the UK? That would, for all intensive purposes, be almost a world war. Hopefully not. And all this stuff going on in Saudi Arabia is just like infighting, and it will be sorted out. The worst maybe that could happen is, let's say, a civil war within Saudi Arabia. We'll have to see. Excuse me. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, share it far and wide, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and you can also follow me on Twitter and on steemit.com, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.